Yo guys, what is up? This is a little video on a Euro USD trade that I took today. I'm just going to be recapping it. If you guys like it, share this video, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I'm going to break it down from a top-down perspective and show you guys exactly why I took this trade. So if we go to the higher time frames, before everything that happened today, we can see that we were, kind of did have an uptrend going because we had this high, this low, this high, this low, and then this high that produced this low. So we broke this high here with this leg to the upside. So BOS right here, break above, and we had our demand all the way down here. So this was the H4 demand that caused this move, right? This entire up move was created by this demand level right here. So we traded down into that level. Now, while that's true, we had been respecting structure. So now this is an idea that I've talked about several times. That is not the right tool. Sorry. So I've talked about this several times, right? Anyone who's been watching the videos has seen this. I talk about how when you get to these levels, you want to confirm them with the BOS, right? Now, if you had just looked at this, this looked like a really good level. And if you had taken a trade off of it, you would have been in decent profit. You would have been up a 1-to-1. There's no doubt about that, right? So here, you would have been up about a 1 to 2.5, and you could have targeted, all the way up here. But the problem is that we didn't break structure. That's why this demand ultimately did not hold. And honestly, we are now bearish, higher time frame bearish, actually, because this is the low that produced this high. So until we broke below this or above this, this was our trading range. Now we broke below. So our range is really from here all the way down to here. So this is one leg to the downside right here. And when I say one leg, I mean, if I mark it up, you can see it's very drawn out and a little bit confusing. But again, here's the low all the way down here. It's going to be hard. I'll just mark it up like that. So here's the low, here's the high. Until we trade above this or below this, this is our range. So now we broke below. So this was a high, lower low. So our new trading range, for me personally, it's not from here down, it's from here down. So this is one leg to the downside, and here is all the structure within it. And we can simplify this a little bit, get rid of these and say that this was a high, low, high, low. So we could trade above this, pull back, and then trade up into here and short off. But as for now, we are definitely bearish, and trading into this does not mean that we're bullish, because again, what did we do? And this is something that I have mentioned so many times, guys. I've talked about this so many times. You trade into this level, but what do you never do? You never break structure. Structure for me, according to my rules, right? So this is the low, high, low. You could mark the high here. I just didn't do it because it kind of congested the drawings on the chart. But until so I'm going to move it back to here. So we had a high, low, high, low. So now until we trade above this, we're bearish. So what do? We trade into it. So we trade into this wick, right? And really, if you go to the lower time frames, it's not a wick, it is an actual candle, but that should be a surprise to you guys. So we trade into the last up close candle. And where do we get a break of structure? So let me change the color on this. Sorry. So I'm going to start using purple. you can see, where do we break structure? So we trade into this. Here's a high, low, high, low. We trade below this low right here, right? So we trade below, and we never got a pullback into this last up close candle. But again, we break the low. So what do we expect? We expect a lower low, right? We expect a lower low to push price much deeper because this is a high, low, high, anticipate a lower low. And now what do we get? We do get that lower low. Eventually right here with this push through price, this is where we actually get the lower low. And now the structure here was honestly really nice and easy. I mean, well, it actually isn't nice and easy, but it's easier to see because I've been working on these things, and this is something that I'm kind of starting to recognize. So, and I recommend you all, doing the same thing. So you can see we trade here, get a BOS. So where could you have looked to enter? So I'm going to drop down, down, down. So we're going to go to the 1 minute because I trade the 1 minute primarily. Look at that. Right. What was the date on this? It's 24th. I actually remember seeing this trade. Insane RR. And it's really a simple idea. You had a low. This was the structural low, by the way. So where do you break it? Break it here. Now here's a supply doji candle. So now we have changed our narrative from bullish to bearish, right? We've changed, right? We trade up, we break structure, and we push down. So now we should be looking for sells. I'll go to the 15 minute, right? So 15 minute. And really, this didn't create the new high. This is the last structural point that created the high. So you could say that this is your BOS here. Now here's a pullback, right? So what can we do? I actually took sells off here the other day as well. So here's an up close candle within this bearish leg to the downside right here. So bearish leg here, high, low, pullback. I'll drop down again to show you the trade I took right here. So we trade into that area here, trade into it here, right? Now this mitigates that level. We had a BOS. Now here is the origin. So it was within this leg, it was low, high, higher low, higher high, break down. And then we get an entry at the last up close candle here, because this again was the movement like this. Boom, 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 break above. Here's your pullback, break down in that pullback. So now what do you expect? You expect a push up to the origin of the leg. This is the origin. We distribute again. Now what happens here? I actually wanted to sell it again. We break structure, and then I wanted us to test right in here, which it actually did. You can see this really big reaction. So I was looking at price in here because, again, what do? We create a leg to the downside. We have supply within that leg, and then we trade into it, break structure here with this push below this low, pull back into the last up close or the extreme area of supply to then mitigate and go short. And if you wanted to, you could have taken it just down to this singular wick low, because this is just going to be an area of liquidity during New York right here. So entry at that candle, you would have targeted the low right here, and it did end up wicking past it. So that was a really good trade. I ended up taking that one. And then let's continue price to the trade that I want to actually highlight. So we had high, low, pullback. Right now, what did I say earlier? We anticipate a lower low because we're just trending down, right? Trending down. This big purple zone is the hourly candle. right? The hourly candle right here. Right in here. So we traded into that. And what I just showed you guys wasn't here. So hourly candle, push up, break structure here, low, high, low. So we expect a pull back up into here to go short. So that's what we get here. That's what I just showed you. Now we create a low, a high, and now that brings us to today. So we had our pullback here. So, right, high, low, and then we get a high, low, high, and then we broke below here. So you could really say the low is here, it doesn't matter, but you create a lower low, right? And now I'm looking at price right here. So what's going through my head? I was looking at it specifically on the 5-minute. So I'm like, okay, we had a low. So this is a leg. So as I'm looking at price, the leg formed from here to here. And I was like, okay, this is one leg. And within this leg, what do we have? Let's see. So within this leg to the downside, we had a little drive, pullback, drive, pullback, drive, right? So I wanted price to trade into here because this is kind of the origin of this move to the downside. So that's why I had this level marked up, right? I wanted to see price potentially trade into here because we had equal highs, right? And what it actually ended up doing is, again, within this single leg to the downside, we did have this structure. We had a low, a high, a low, and then we got a pullback. So it was a matter of, okay, are we going to have something like this where we continue up into the origin, get a deeper pullback, and then go down, right? Or is it, one of the deals where we end up respecting the smaller time frame structure that's creating this bigger leg to the downside? This bigger leg is being created by this structure. So usually when you see this and you're trending, you can try to take the lower time frame structure. So the lower time frame structure is we had a low, a high, a low, right? So I'm looking at this, and within this pullback to the upside, we had supply level here, right? So we had a buy to sell supply level. You guys know how I look at these things, and then I drop down to the 1 minute. So dropping down to the 1 minute, what do? We trade into this supply level. We're pushing up clearly with some structure here. So here are structural points. I'll use the other tool. I'll change it to black color so it can be a little less colorful. So here, 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 boom, boom, right? So we trade into the supply, and what do? We break past this wick and invalidate it. Also, this was an area of demand that you could argue this was just one leg, so this is demand. So this was the change of demand to supply. So we ran into the demand, pushed up, invalidated it, ended up breaking lower than this structure. So now this is like a flip. So this is a demand, and now it turns to supply. So it's a demand to the supply flip. Entry right at the open of this, and then I targeted equal lows on the higher time frames. This was like a zero drawdown trade, 1 to 8. So it was a really, really good one. I'm really happy with it. And this is like a complete breakdown on kind of why I took it and where price was at. You guys can see within this higher time frame leg from here down, we had this smaller time frame structure creating it, and price decided to respect that. So this was the drive, pullback, drive. Within this pullback period, we had supply. We trade into it, break the structure, and then have a demand to supply flip here that we ended up playing off of. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, again, comment, subscribe, share, and we'll speak to you all in our next one. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.